I look a hot mess right now, and I got like one eyebrow on, so don't pay attention to that and don't be distracted. Okay. And I gotta get my hair done, so I look a hot mess. That's already understood. But I'm in my house and minding my own business. Anyways, um, I would like to talk about trans children. You know, I was a trans child years ago. I remember I was 4 years old, and I knew that I liked it, boys. And I remember being in like kindergarten or hair start, and I was constantly reminded that I was a boy. And that um, obviously hurted me a lot because I was under the impression that I was a girl, and I was reminded that I wasn't. I also was reminded that you're supposed to like girls, not only you. I wanted to be one, but I'm supposed to like girls, and I remember liking boys. So it was a lot of things in my childhood where I felt that I was confused about. Um, I wasn't confused about what I liked. I was confused about what everybody was telling me I should like. So with that being said, Nicki Minaj, big, long, uh, what's she shaped like? What car she shaped like? Nicki Minaj is shaped like hmm, a PT Cruiser. I give her a newer version or a Mini Cooper. I feel like that's what she's shaped like. She's small in the front and very huge in the back. And those cars have, I don't know what the, do they even make those cars still? Anyways, why are people under the impression that trans children are transitioning and cutting their genitals off and they're becoming different people, and people are brainwashing the children, pushing them to transition? Kids don't know what the fuck they are thinking in their own brains. I don't know why people have the assumption that kids don't, or children don't understand gender identity. I'm talking to you on an iPad, and my little brother is autistic. He could take the same iPad and do even way more things that I would ever even know how to do on this piece of shit. The point that I'm making is that kids have plenty of fucking sense. Yes, there's some innocence to children where certain things they probably won't understand until they're adults. But I feel like your identity is instinctive, and what's there is already there. What you discover as an adult is an additional thing. But it's just some basic things that you already know, even while being a child, just like I did. And there is a community of children that are realizing that they are trans. They may not have the words, but if you create a safe space as a parent, maybe your child will come to you and say, "Mommy, Daddy, I do understand that I'm different. I may not be able to put my finger on it, but I do feel like a girl, or I do feel like a boy, or I do feel like my sister. I want to do what my sisters are doing. I want to do what my brothers are doing." And that's just not one conversation. There's a multiple scenarios and things that are happening that is showing you as a parent that your child is different, that your child is maybe experiencing gender dysphoria, But instead of you being ignorant, maybe you should educate yourself on it. Listen to your child, because these are real feelings that your children is having. Not that, oh, I watched Spider-Man on TV, now I want to be Spider-Man. That's not what the fuck we're talking about, right? There's a difference. So it's like there are a community of children where they want to transition. Now, I am not by any means saying that kids need to get surgeries and they just have to be on this medication. And no, that is a whole different. Do we know any children that are getting surgeries? I mean, no, no, seriously. Is there children getting sexual reassignment surgery? Can anybody name 5 trans children that are getting surgeries? Quickly. No? Right. Because it's not fucking happening. And people are running with propaganda. And now that is feeding the masses because we have a president that's also pushing the narrative that trans children are, or trans identified children are getting reassignment surgery. Why are we thinking about children genitals? I mean, is that the only thing you think about when it comes down to trans people, like freaks of fucking nature, like sexual deviance? Is that okay? So you already think that about trans adults. So now that's spewing on trans children. Got it. Um, we are not freaks of nature. I promise you. Some of your favorite people also may be trans and you don't know it. Okay. The person that you talked to in the bathroom that you had a great conversation of, they also might be trans. Um, your boss might be trans. Some of your close friends might be trans. Hey, who's to say the bitch or the nigga you're fucking may not also be trans? You know how many people? Never mind. Needless to say, you don't know who you're entertaining every day, and that's why you should be mindful because some things can come off insensitive, and because of most people are ignorant to a lot of things, they might just say the most stupidest shit on a large platform with the United States American seal behind them. So to avoid all of that, use Google, XG, ChatGPT, whatever you need to do to understand, or talk to a person that may be trans. I don't know, that had trans child experiences. Talk to a person after you're doing your own research, and you will find out that trans children or trans identified kids are not cutting off their genitals. If anything, they're just socially transitioning. And what that means is that if my child comes to me repeatedly saying, Mommy, I want to be a boy. Mommy, I want to be a girl. Or Mommy, I don't want to be a boy. Or Mommy, I don't want to be a girl. And it's a conversation every time. And now I see my kid is acting a little different. Now I see my kid mannerisms. Now I see my kid and who they're playing with in the parking lot, in the playground. Now I'm seeing how my children play with different action figure of the opposite sex. Now they're talking different. Now they want to wear different clothes. Now, when it become, when you see what I'm saying, that was me. That was me. But back in the day, they didn't have the language. Now we have the language for these things. And so when you see that in your child, I think it's important to have the conversation or at least let your child express themselves freely, educate them on life. But socially transitioning is exactly what I've explained. Let your child be who they are. And as you see them being who they are, that's their version of transitioning, you know, to whatever they want to be. to whatever the fuck they want to be within the guidelines of being kids. It doesn't take their childhood away from them. If anything, that's a part of it, you know, because you have individuals like me that could have killed myself because I didn't have the support as a child and had to suppress those feelings until I became an adult, you know? So perhaps if I was freely and expressing myself instead of suppressing my own personal feelings that cause other mental problems, perhaps we would have more healthy children, mentally healthy children that can also be trans. So I just want to clear some things up because you have Nicki Minaj going on a rampage, and the president and other MAGA Republicans and people just have, and other people, ignorant people, just have this notion that trans children are, or people are forcing kids to cut off their genitals or reassign their genitals, and that is not the case. I don't even think that's fucking legal. You understand? How does it make sense? So, if anything, children are socially transitioning, and that is without any medication, and that is without any surgery. However, there may be rare instances where a child have to have some type of surgical thing. And let's not act like surgery is a bad thing. Uh, Kids get surgery all the time for different reasons, health reasons. So let's be clear. But when it comes down to anything surgically that's transitional wise, and if we're talking about reassignment surgery on children, the only thing I could think of is a severe case where they have gender dysphoria or body dysmorphia, and they start mutilating their own genitals. Okay? What happens when the child mutilates their own genitals? A surgery has to be had. Nobody wants to talk about that. You still have to take them to the hospital, and a surgery has to be had. So then what? You understand? So there is cases, case by case basis, where perhaps something has to be fixed or reassigned, you know? And, or if we're talking about medication, if the child has to undergo some type of medication, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, at some point, you know, the thing about HRT is that those things can be reverted back if they stop taking them. But for the most part, children, little minor children, are not taking hormone replacement therapy. Maybe late teens, because you want to start puberty blockers, So sometimes as a teen, a late teen, you would take puberty blocking um, uh, puberty blocking uh, medication, not so much of reproductive blocking. Okay, I think we're not stopping anything reproductive wise, really. We're just putting a pause or making a delay on what biologically wants to happen in the body. If that makes sense. So, at the end of the day, you guys, there is no body that is making their children get sexual reassignment surgery. It just don't exist. Um, did anybody have any questions? I don't know. I was trying to look at the comments. Um, let's see. Let's look at some comments. Ooh. Oh, let's. Okay. Let's do those again. They are only. Every child has rules. You are so. I have some cream for your face. I'm talking about ice cream. What? No, it didn't. I don't, what? Um, any intellectual have anything in. I mean, listen, y'all gon' hate. I mean, I don't even have time to be going back and forth with you bitches because I can cuss all y'all motherfuckers out for real. But what is that gonna do? Not a damn thing. So, chat. Let me see. I guess no. Chat. I will have something to say. Adrian, did you want to share anything? Not from legalizing Dreamfish, Colorado. I don't know what they're talking about, but that's all I had to say about this topic. And I just feel like people like Nicki Minaj just being used by the Republicans because they don't even like her fucking black ass anyway. She's not even supposed to be here, but because she has a pedophile husband and brother, you know, and she wants to suck Jay Z's dick, and she hate Rock Nation because they shelved her, or they didn't. No, they didn't shelve her. She never got accepted by Rock Nation, and she was jealous that her peers did, and she really wanted to have. She likes Cash Money, but it's something about Rock Nation that Young Money doesn't have as a label. She surpassed Young Money. Rock Nation is a challenge to her, and because she not in, she never got in with Rock Nation. She's envious of Megan's success. She's envious of Cardi's success. I mean, the list goes on. She's mad at every fucking body. But that's another video that I could make about Nicki Minaj. But she just recently had a video talking about transgender. And if she doesn't want Armand in women's business, tell her fucking ass to stay out of trans business because her child needs to. Never mind. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. I'm gonna go ahead and log off.